and everything for today. Great job. Bucks Club did a tremendous job. Course is in great shape. Great time of the year to play golf. I do have a question to ask everybody by a show of hands. We've done this in the spring in May, usually Mother's Day weekend, and then because of rain this year, we rescheduled it today. Everybody wants it in the spring in May. Put a hand up. Everybody wants it in the fall around the football game and homecoming. That's a pretty good showing. Thanks very much. I'd like to get started with our speakers today, if you would. Also, we're streaming this out on Facebook Live today, and we're also going to have some video of this after the event. We had a drone out there today. We got some interviews. But I'd like to bring up Max Gydon. Max played 3 years at Central Bucks. Tremendous running back, tremendous athlete, different sports. Give Max a nice round of applause. I understand. A little friend of mine told me earlier today that Max went to Buckingham Friends for about 7 or 8 years before he ever came to Central Bucks. So we're glad you came over. If you would, there you go, Max.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see the good faces here. A little humbling that people remember me after 50 some odd years, because most of the people that I played with or knew me, they're here today. But we're here to talk about Coach Pettine, memories we've had of him, and I have several I'd like to share. The first time I met Coach was we were always hanging around the high school. We were from junior high, and he looks at me and he goes, "Max Gydon, the Unami Flash." And I went, "Oh God, the guy knows who I am." And he said, "Are you coming out for football?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm coming out for you. I'll be out there." But he was pretty gruff and rough, you know. And I had nicknamed him Stoneface, because he never smiled. And somebody ratted me out. And Pettine comes up to me one day and he goes, "I hear you call me Stoneface, Gydon." I'm like, "Oh God." I said, yeah, well, I call you that. I go, "You never smile." He said, "Win some games, you'll see me smile." And
after 200 yards of belly flop.
But what I remember most about Coach, he was a stickler for detail. He never took a play off while we practiced. He either had his eye on the defense or his eye on the offense. And he always was tinkering with stuff, and we never ran the same plays, but he would put a new play in, or basically change the alignment of the play where we lined up. And he put a play in November. It was cold day, and it was drizzling. And he put this play, they'd always do that at the end of the practice, put the new play in. And we just couldn't get that play right. And you know the famous words was, "Run it again." So one by one, each one of us screwed up. Eventually, we screwed up. And he'd say, "Run it again." So after like 8 times, my legs are about to fall off because I was getting the ball. And he'd say, "Run again. We're going to be out here all night until you get it right." Well, it took about a dozen times. We got it right. And then he said, "Run it again," and we got it right. Run it again, we got it right. He said, "All right, take it in." So about the middle of the game, I don't even remember who we were playing exactly. First quarter, he calls that play. And I ran for like 45 yards for a touchdown. So we all kind of looked around at each other and said, "Well, guess it worked, you know." But I'd like to thank all the guys that I played with that makes it possible for people to remember me. And that's Doug Tweed and Gary Reed, Guy Driesbach, Mike Emmett, Jeff Stemple, Bryan Hoff, who's no longer with us. He was only big as a hiccup, but he took on a guy that was 3 times his size, filling in. And the guy never laid a hand on me, North Bend. And I'd like to thank Mike Upton and who am I forgetting? Huck Palmer, all these guys, they made it possible that after 50 years, I'm really Mike Emmett. Yeah, I said Mike, didn't I say Mike Emmett? Yeah, because Pat, he didn't ever bark for him. He ran. But I'd like to thank all those guys because their names should be mentioned when you mention my name, or from people that comes up to you and says, Max Gydon, I remember you. My dad used to bring me to the games to watch you run, which my father did with me. That's got me hooked on to football. Was a guy that was really the best back that ever played at Central Bucks. It is Nathaniel Hawthorne Duckett. If anybody remembers him, he was the ace. But in closing, let me see. There's something else I wanted to talk about, Coach. I know I loved him. He made us all better men today, everybody in this room. And we owe him a lot. He's gave us good work habits and to persevere through hard times, because none of us had everything easy every day. And I like to. But it was a good time, and we had a lot of good times. But I'm glad I had the opportunity of spending 3 years with him. And I have to tell you this. Pettine had these old reel-to-reel tapes, and there was this big green monstrosity, and he would play these fight songs, college fight songs, and fight on Pennsylvania. And we was in there getting taped up for a scrimmage, and I say, Coach, I understand where you're coming from, but that doesn't get it. I said, not today. And he looked at me and said, oh, well, Gydon, you guys can play your music. We'll see what kind of music you play. Well, the next day, Guy Driesbach and Jimmy Bolton, they come in with Black Sabbath and Iron Butterfly. I got James Brown. And we're kicking it. And that was a tradition that I think we started that might still be there today. So if you guys want to thank anybody for the music, you can thank our class for that one. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Max. Really appreciate you coming out today. Your sister came out with you today. Enjoy the rest of your lunch and the rest of the speakers. Thanks again. Sure, and anybody in the room would want to come up and introduce our next speaker? Anybody out there? Come on.
Who is it?
Dusty Bryan. Somebody want to introduce Dusty? Okay. Mr. Gydon. You hear me back there?
Give him the mic.
First of all, a special thank you to Mike Starner and Sherry, his wife. I mean, they did a great job, and they had to go through this twice. I don't know if you guys have ever done a golf tournament, but there's nothing tougher than that. Mike sort of put me on the spot to do this, but wait a minute, I got something in my back pocket. Well, first of all, we got to work on getting the turnout better. I mean, this is a great outing. We got to work on our classmates. We got to get this Pettine Foundation. We got to make some money. I mean, this is a great foundation. What Coach Pettine has done for this group of guys and this whole community, it's beyond belief. So we really got to step up. So next year, let's all really get together and really try to get this thing huge. I mean, let's try to fill up the course, and let's get some money into this foundation and really build it to where it should be to represent the man who really put us on the map. So with that being said, it's my honor and pleasure and opportunity to introduce one of my lifetime and I had a couple vodkas out on the course. And I wasn't really good at school anyhow. Lifetime and long teammate. That doesn't even make any sense. All right, wait a minute. It's my honor and pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce one of my longtime teammates and best friends, Dusty Bryan. No, I'm not done. Sit down. Dusty is known as Dusty, Bo, number 11, and Hall of Fame times 5. He's been in a Hall of Fame, Rutgers, CB West, this will be his second, and the Eagles Nest Hall of Fame, which, that's a long story. He was a 6-time letter winner, starting 3 years in football and 3 years in baseball. And he also played in the famous clock game. You got to ask Stemple about that. Anybody know Jeff Stemple? Jeff, stand up, please. All right, Stemple, take your time. Dusty earned first-team honors at safety and was named to the Inquirer's Golden 11 defense. He still holds the record with Mike Pettine Jr. with 11 interceptions his senior year. During Dusty's introduction into the Hall of Fame, Coach Pettine recognized his athletic abilities by saying he was one of the top 5 athletes he's ever coached. And that's pretty impressive right there. If Coach Pettine's given him that kudos, that's pretty impressive. A great family man and friend, Dusty Bryan.
So, Guy, thank you for that introduction. I just have to say that Guy Driesbach is the only person that I know, and this is ad lib because I didn't know he was going to do this, that had a retirement party, like 100 people there, and he was his own MC for every speaker. So the party lasted like 3 hours. But thank you, Guy. So, honestly, I am so honored to be asked to speak here today. It means so much to me, and whoever decided on that, thank you very much, because it's a great honor to speak for the Pettine Foundation. And secondly, Guy took my words there. All the people that put the time and the effort and the volunteering into this event and the Pettine Foundation, you are all, Pettine would be so proud, Coach Pettine would be so proud of all of you. I know Mike Starner and Sherry do a lot of work, but I know there's countless others that put time and effort in. And we all know how busy we are, so time and effort and energy is so appreciated, and he would be so proud of what this foundation has become. So, thank you. So, they said to talk about Coach Pettine, how he affected all of our lives and how he affected my life. And, like Max Gydon, who I consider one of the best running backs ever at CB West. I know they had a lot, but Max Gydon was, one with Jeff Stemple. These guys were just unbelievable athletes. So, Max, that was a great speech. So I came to CB West in a very unconventional way. When I was moving into 10th grade, I actually lived in California. My family lived in California, and all of a sudden my father, who was very involved with my football at that point, and since I was 6, decided we were going to move back to Pennsylvania. And I didn't want to leave California. So moving into 10th grade, we moved back, and my dad put me into Archbishop Wood, believe it or not. And Archbishop Wood had their camp before our camp. So I was enrolled in Archbishop Wood, and a lot of you guys are football players. So a lot of you guys know if you went to a camp in the summer, a football camp, in the middle of August, you came out in shape, no matter what. You came out in shape because they're tough. And I don't care where you play, college, high school, they're tough. Right about when the camp was about to end, and I put in all the hard work at Archbishop Wood, my father said, I'm going to take you up to CB West. I heard there's a young coach named Pettine. Now, I just went through a camp and I started to make some friends. Next thing I know, I'm outside, waiting for my father to talk to Pettine, and I'm sure my father told him I was the greatest player from California ever. But next thing I know, I was, after camp at Wood, I was at CB West. And this story I'll never forget. I didn't know anybody, but the older guys that have been around for a while remember Pettine had a day, and I think it was the same day as camp, where he wanted to know who was in shape. Did you work out in the summer? Or were you out, doing whatever that guy usually did in the summer, just messing around? So he had all these agility drills that he had you go through. And one of the ones that everybody dreaded was the mile. And it was a timed mile. So the backs had to do it in, I don't remember the time, but it 6:21? What was it?
6 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, which, listen, if you're not a track guy, it's pretty hard. And the lineman had to do maybe 7 minutes. 7:20? 6:20. So I hear all the guys talking, and you can just remember this was a painful thing. It was not easy to do. And so I'm not bragging, but I came from going through a camp. I was in pretty good shape, and I cruised through it. Pat and the coach was like, where did this guy come from? And then I'm looking around as I'm finishing my mile, I'm looking back, and I'm seeing some guys, kneeling at the track, and I'm like, man, I just came from a Catholic school. They're pretty religious, but apparently up here at CB West, they also pray around the track. And then I look back and I'm like, oh man, these guys aren't praying. I think some of these guys had too many pancakes for breakfast. And even the famous and the coach's favorite, Coach Pettine's favorite athlete of all time, Dr. Pat Carey, apparently lost his Egg McMuffin that morning. That's what I had heard. So Coach Pettine, who was the master motivator, he used this instance, and he talked to a couple players and said, hey, this guy comes in, runs circles around you guys are out of shape, and all this stuff. And he certainly made a point of telling them that they were not in shape that summer. Of course, me being a new person from another school, it didn't make me any friends, but that's what Coach always did. He knew how to motivate people. But I was so fortunate to play with the 71 and 72 team. These were teams that I remember after we won the championship in 72, Billy Gallen said, we don't know how to lose. But the 71 team, they didn't know how to lose. These players didn't know how to lose. They just won. They just knew how to win. And I think, there's more than winning, but Coach just taught us how to stay together, how to be together, how to work hard, how to do the play over and over again. But in my 72 class, you could talk about the 71 guys forever, but the 72 class, was so tight-knit. You had Pat Carey, Guy Driesbach, Steve Weber, Denny Holt, John Edwards, just so many great players that I had the chance to play with. And so I felt very blessed. And, everything that they talk about that Pettine teaches you, I got a chance to use. And because there were so many great players and so many good teams, I got recognized a little bit. So I had a couple colleges look at me, and I had the opportunity to go play at Rutgers. And that was a great thing. I played there for 4 years. But the most important thing, I was able to get my college degree at Rutgers, because I was the type of guy when I was 18, and probably still now, I'd be like the first. I had no marketable skills. I'd be like the first guy tossed off the island, because I can't build anything. I can't do anything. So I got an education, and I never would have been able to do that without CB West, and without Coach Pettine, and without the teachers here. So I was really blessed to be able to do that. And then I got into the pharmaceutical industry and worked for Merck for a couple of years, and worked in the medical industry. I'm still doing that. And I really think that the things that Coach taught me and I learned through CB West football allowed me to do that, to be a better person, to be able to succeed or do something with my life. But I can say this, all the things that Coach taught me, taught all of us. I never learned more about Coach until I started golfing with him. And I was so fortunate my friend Guy Driesbach got me on the circuit. And I don't know if it was 5 or 6 years or whatever, but we got a chance to golf with Coach in the summers. You get 4 guys together or 8 guys together, and we'd golf different places, and we'd go down to even to Tampa and golf with him. And if you think he was competitive in football, you should have seen him on the golf course. I mean, it was just something to see. And but you got to know him as a different person. Sometimes he wouldn't talk at all. I remember one time Guy and I were golfing with him, and I was in his cart, and 16 holes into it, he didn't say a word to me. And Guy's like, Coach, you got to at least say something to Dusty. And he did. If I asked him about Junior, or I asked him about Joyce, but sometimes he wouldn't talk, but other times he would. And the thing that I really learned from those golfing things was he was so much of a giving person, you didn't realize it. He would ask me about my family. I had a couple kids that played, the good athletes, played in college. Of course, I was bragging a lot. But he'd always ask me, you know, how's Jen doing? How's Billy doing? And I wouldn't see him for a couple weeks, and I'd get a freaking letter in the mail. And I'd say to my wife, I got a letter from Coach Pettine, a handwritten letter, or I got an email. And I'm like, God, I must be a special guy. Then I found out he did this for hundreds of players. How did he do this? And really what he cared about was, making you a good football player, but helping you to become a good person, a good father, a good husband, a good coworker. He really cared about how you did later in life. And I only really kind of realized that. I thought he just wanted to be my football coach. But as I got to know him more, I realized that was his ultimate goal. How are your kids? How's your family? How are you doing at work? And I just don't know how he found the time. He had the stories about how he wrote letters to people and called people, and it just really made me realize what a great person he was and how much he gave back to people. And he'd be so proud of this, because that's what he was about, even though you really didn't know that. And finally, I'll finish with one golf story. My buddy Guy Driesbach and I were down. We would go down to Tampa once every couple of years, and we'd go down for a couple days, and we went down and we golfed with Coach Pettine and a couple other guys, and did the round just like always, and he didn't say too much. And then he said he had a home in Tampa, as I think everybody knows. And he said, hey, you guys want to come over for dinner? And I looked at Guy and said, Coach is inviting us to his house for dinner. Wow, I mean, that's something. He said, sure, so we'll go over to his house for dinner. And the funniest thing was, I've never seen Coach do this. He was like, he wanted to be the host. You know, Guy, sit down, sit down. Dusty, sit down. What do you guys want? Do you want something to drink before dinner? Do you want a beer? Do you want a soda? And he was like the best host. I've never seen this before. And I said, yeah, Coach, I'll have a glass of wine if you don't mind. So he goes in the back and he comes out with one of those little the things you get on an airplane, like these little bottles. It was like Reuniti or something, and he's pouring it for me. And he had like 19 beers that he maybe got over the 20 years that somebody left. So it was cool, because just seeing him in that manner. And then the thing that I'll remember the most, and I think I'll never forget, was he had just gotten this new dog. And I don't know what type of dog it was. It was just a smaller dog that just ran around his leg, and he was just smiling like you couldn't imagine. Like, guys, look at this dog. And the dog would run around and bark and look up at Coach, and the Coach had this smile that you've never seen before on him. And so we're sitting there, and so Coach just throws the ball. The dog brings it back, and he looks at me again. He goes, did you guys see that? Well, Coach, you just brought the ball back. I mean, dogs fetch. But he was so proud of this dog. And the smile on his face, you know, when he saw this dog, it was like he got Tom Brady on his, high school team or something. It was just like, you just saw another side of him. And I know how much he meant to all of us and how he influenced us. And I know people like Carey know this. There was just such a different side to him that was so giving and was so into helping people. And the thing with the dog, I'm like, this guy's got a big heart. And I don't think sometimes you realize, because he was so tough and gruff and all that stuff. But I think we were all blessed, and I'm just so thankful that I had the opportunity to play with all these teammates that I had, and we're celebrating this 50-year anniversary, and we're all still here swinging the clubs and all that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Buck Club, and God bless you, Coach. Well, who am I introducing? Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's no words for this introduction.
It's your show.
So I think I know who I'm introducing right now, and he is truly, and this is the other thing about all you guys, I have friends that Guy Driesbach, these guys have been at my weddings, and we're still golf together. And the person I'm going to introduce next, he's still my best friend, Dr. Pat Carey. And you talk about somebody that's been successful in his life from the start to the finish. He has been, and he's always was a leader in our group. Was always Pat Carey, and we were always kind of messing around, and Pat was always straight and true, but that actually wasn't true. Penn thought he was, but he was always kind of like the guy that got you in trouble. Many times I got in trouble, and actually Penn came to me when we were in sophomore year. We made a couple letters in the snow that we were trying to write Bucks, when there was a snow thing, and we missed the B, and it turned out to be another word. So we both I got suspended, he didn't. And Penn came to the locker room and said to me, he wasn't worried about me, he said, Bryan, I don't want you hanging around with Carey. You guys were like gasoline in the match. So we have been best friends since high school, and he is one of the most hardworking people I know, successful people I know, tremendous quarterback, and a great person also that gives back to the community, and orthopedic surgeon, like Comey's doctor, the great Pat Carey.
I was going to pay outside for that.
Well,
I needed the money now. Oh my God. Thank you. Jeez.
Well, I want to start again by thanking the Pettine Foundation. Their time, as Dusty and Guy said, is valuable. The fundraising they've done, they give a scholarship every year now to a female and male athlete. And, really for the Pettine Foundation mission statement, what it stands for, and they've stayed to the course, and the people that have put their time in, the Gilmores, my brother Mike. A special shout out to Mike Starner. I know it's a labor of love, the golf tournament, but... Okay. Speak into it? Okay. So a special shout out to Mike Starner. Labor of love, the texts, the emails, the phone calls, answering questions, setting things up. So thank you, Mike, and the opportunity to talk today. I was asked to talk about what Coach Pettine, a life lesson that maybe Coach Pettine instilled in me that I was able to use later in life. And I thought about it, and I said, number one, the Pettine Foundation, the poster, the Coach Pettine poster that came out, the Pettine Way, I think it was called. It has dedication, intensity, teamwork. When that came out, I bought 3, put one in my home office, framed and put one in each of my son's offices. So, that kind of says it all. You look at that, and I think some of it's up here, the different, statements that he made. And then again, I thought, I've heard people talk about Coach Pettine and what the influence he had on their lives. And a couple of them, like Brian Buckley, talking about in the fields of Afghanistan early in the morning before battle, and how cold and wet it was, and he thought back to the CB West days in summer camp, the half t-shirts doing the exercises on the ground, and he said it made him smile and it brought a calm to him, and that kind of thing. And the Dick Beck story about the sandblaster and not knowing what that meant. He says, for years Pettine would tell me I'm a sandblaster, and one day I was laying on the beach and I saw my son running, and I realized he had short, stubby, bowed legs like I do, and his butt was real close to the sand. And then it hit me what exactly a sandblaster was. So 2 things I remembered from Coach Pettine's stories. But, I thought about what could I talk about quickly, and I thought preparation. How about the scouting reports we used to have? The mimeograph sheets stapled together, 12 to 15 pages, a cover sheet, get soldered in, Redskins. Drew Dower always has his team ready to play against CB West. And then it would give the offense and defensive rosters, size, height, weight, and maybe best pass rusher, best cover guy goes to wide field. And then we'd practice against that. We'd practice on an offensive day, we'd go against the scout defense. And on a defensive day, we'd have a scout offense against the first team defense and second team. And if you remember, way back in the early days, Coach Pettine ran the scout offense. And he had his hat on and the whistle and the skinny Conshohocken legs that he ran around in. And you'd have him surrounded, and you don't want to hit him. But he'd say, you could have never tackled me. I had you. And so it went back and forth, and actually during my senior year, I started to become, as I wasn't playing any defense, the quarterback for the scout team. And started out with a yellow practice jersey, and then it became pink, and everybody enjoyed that on the team. And in the Bill Borison era, I think Mike Emmett involved in that, it had pink with hands on it. And it evolved even to when I would come back for Thanksgiving and West was on their playoff run, and I'd go to the practice on Thanksgiving morning. It was always a big highlight of my day. And they had a couple coaches in gear, football helmets, shoulder pads, Chris Cleveland running the offense. I don't remember the coach's name, was running back. And I'm telling you what, there was pad contact. And, I looked at that and I remembered as a quarterback in high school, the very first time that it clicked when I was under center, we had a guy go in motion and the safety ran out of center field. The linebacker moved to the edge and Pettine said, when we go in motion, the center's going to be wide open. And I almost smiled to myself and said, wow. And I learned how important preparation was and then used that in my life as an orthopedic surgeon. I prepared for office hours, tried to know what the office notes were saying, looked at any pertinent x-rays or MRIs or other studies, and certainly prepared for surgery the same way, so that I knew that if I prepared the way I prepared in football for my surgeries, I was comfortable going in. So again, so many things I could talk about Coach Pettine. He came to one of my son's college football games, called up and said he was coming up, and came up with Jeff Stemple and I think Guy Driesbach and a couple other guys. And it was like a legend was there. After the game, we went down onto the field and the Bloomsburg coaches were like, Mike Pettine's here, God, Mike Pettine's here. And they're all running up to talk to him. So can't say enough about the opportunities we had. I'm thrilled to be able to be involved with my 1971 and 1972 undefeated Bucksmont Championship teammates, 22 in a row. Dynasty started there, and looking forward to the next week of celebration. So thank you.
Great afternoon. Great seeing everybody out here for the Pettine Foundation and our 4th annual golf tournament. I do remember just not so much the story about Pettine, but about the program. And obviously he instilled this, but Tommy Jensen and I were quick ends. In our junior year, Tommy had an accident and missed the entire season, and I got the chance to start pretty much the entire season. But Tommy came back his senior year, and we challenged each other every day of the season our senior year. And I can tell you, every once in a while we see each other in town or whatever, and just remember what an experience that was, because it made us better football players and better men, I think, from that experience. One of the other things I'd like to just mention about the West program and about the foundation and what we've done is this is our 4th annual tournament. We've raised over $125,000, okay, in our golf event alone. Thanks very much. This year alone, we had nearly 40 sponsors. Hole sponsors, championship sponsors, game sponsors. Really appreciate it. The back of your program that's on your table there has a list of all the sponsors. And the last year we had our 2022 Scholarship Award winner. There's a complete list of award winners in the program as well. Dante Mancini couldn't make it this year. Obviously he's in school at this point in time, but the goal that we have is to have enough money to have perpetual scholarships to live on. And we're close to meeting that goal. So anybody that wants to volunteer for the board, volunteer for a committee, we certainly appreciate it. Let me get into the winners for the afternoon and give everybody their afternoon back. So what we're going to do first is want to give away the 3 closest to the pin holes. Closest to the pin on number 4 is Len Van Treska. Come on up, Len. That was for the young men. Senior men, Bill Van Nostrand. Come on up, Bill. And close to the pin, Bill Beck, or Bo Beck, excuse me. Come on up, Bo. Thanks very much.
I appreciate it.
They have $25 gift cards here to the Pro Shop. Straightest Drive, Bill Gillespie for young men 64 and under, and Doug Tweed 65 and over. Come on up. You got both the one at twosome at the Bucks Club here. We did not have a hole-in-one. I did understand there was somebody who was about 2 feet from the hole, but we did not have a hole-in-one today. Longest drive, L. Ingram. Is he in the room? L. Ingram? I don't have a first name. It's a her? Ooh. Well, we'll make sure she gets that. And Guy Driesbach, 65 and over. Guy? We have a foursome at White Marsh Valley Country Club. Okay, to our, we also had a mega putt winner, gentleman in the mega putt. Are you still in the room here? He left earlier, but we made sure he got his.
He's got all credit cards and all.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer SD.
I'll make sure she gets it. I knew she is. Mega putt winner gets two rounds at Steel Club in Hellertown, PA. Our first place, second place, and third place teams, we had a tie of cards, and we have a really nice offering from Ryan Moore. Is Ryan in the room? Ryan? Ryan was here today, but he donated Eagles tickets, Flyers tickets, and Sixers tickets. First place team gets choice. First place team by a match of cards at -14. Brian Peretta, Eric Lutz, Doug McCauley, and Chris Schaefer. Come on up. But you need to pick which game you want. Which team would you like? There you go, sir. Second place team, match of cards, -14. Len Van Treska, Sean Ripley, Stefan Sikarzl, and Bill Lippman. I'm sure I messed that one up. You get the choice of the other two. Sixers or Flyers.
I'll take Flyers.
Third place, Brendan Golden, Dave Weinbrecht, Mike Mastranglio, and Russ Hartling. Sixers tickets. Come on up, Brendan. Brendan's also, just to make mention, everybody, a new board member on the Pettine Foundation. Welcome him to the board member, as a board member. Let me just see, I'm looking for longest drive. So, okay, she's not here, that's correct. Laura. Just a wrap up for the day. If you'd like, there's some Mike Pettine Foundation materials in the back. We have posters that Guy talked about. We have putter covers, and we have golf hats. And just so everybody knows, this was Coach Pettine's bag. We got it out of the Storage Club. His wife donated that to the foundation, so we have that here. And we hope to see you next year. If you want to volunteer, it's a great foundation to join and really help support the local community. We're trying to give as many scholarships away each year as we can and raise as much money so we have a perpetual foundation for that. Thanks again.